Aloha, everybody. Sending oceans of aloha to you wherever you are in the world. Thank you for joining me on Tales from the Merworld Radio, where we explore ancient lands like Atlantis and Lemuria, the mysteries of these lands, the mythology, the theology, the ancient history. All these things are very special and very important to me, as I feel that because we are multidimensional beings living simultaneous lives, because we are ancient beings, that we have all experienced one or more lifetimes in these ancient lands. We all carry the wisdom and the knowledge and the experiences of being multidimensional beings existing in other realities and other timelines. So the focus of this show is for me to bring you my remembrance, my wisdom, my knowledge from my lineage, which is the Mer people of Atlantis. For those of you who are new to me, I am an incarnated Mer being from the great kingdom of Atlantis and the Mer world. And if you are just tuning in to some of my episodes, I have many on YouTube, just under my name, Ameera Beth Mer Healer, that you can go back and kind of catch up, where I talk a little bit about Merlantis, the Mer world, the great kingdom of Atlantis, Lemuria, and, the spiral of time, this exciting time that we are rewriting and revisiting and actually course correcting in our collective quest to create a new Earth. So on today's show, I am going to speak about something called the 8-8 Lion's Gate. I'm going to talk about Egypt, and I'm going to talk about the Atlantean association with Egypt and what just happened last week during the 8-8 portal, what that really means, that gateway, the Lion's Gate, and how it's affecting us from here on out. And if you're familiar with my show, you might notice if you're watching that I have a little bit different style background than what I usually carry. Typically, I have very vibrant images from one of my very favorite artists on the Big Island, Jean-Luc Boisselet. Usually I have his images behind me. Today, Spirit asked me to honor my lineage, because remember, we're multidimensional beings, that part of me that belongs to the Sand People. So who are the Sand People? The Sand People, everything is energy, everything is consciousness, everything is vibration. So the Sand People are those that are in charge, or their consciousness is in charge of creating sand for this planet. And remember, the formation of sand is really just a breaking down of the rocks and the minerals over millions and billions of years. Remember also that this world was once covered by water, right? This once was a water planet. And as evolution continued and as Creator desired to make something different than a water planet on this Earth, the formation of the Earth and the rocks and the minerals breaking down over time, the consciousness of the Sand People made what we enjoy now when we go to our beaches and so forth as sand. And when you consider that even Egypt used to be covered by water, and we know this because there's seashells in the desert, right? Where did all that sand come from? It's a result of the water going away and then the earth and the sand formations happening. So the colors that you see me wearing today, the tans and the browns, are in honor of the rituals that I've been doing to connect with that part of my soul. On 8-8, on the 8-8 gateway, I actually went out to my favorite part of the island, which is called Mahalapu, which is the very most Atlantean part of the island. And I did a sand ritual. And Spirit instructed me to bury myself, to dig a hole and bury myself completely in sand. And so I did that, and I did my hair and I got it all over my body. And I was in this really wonderful meditation on 8-8 next to the water on a beach that usually has a lot of people on it, but course, for me. There was nobody there. It was vacant. So I got to have this really lovely time listening to Kauai, listening to Mother Earth, and listening to the Sand People. And suddenly as I was laying there, I feel this like little trickle across my chest, and which brought me out of the meditation, actually scared me. And I stood up and I screamed, ah! And I looked down, and there's this cute little sand crab just sitting there in the sand, looking up at me, very, very innocently, looking up at me like, what'd I do? And I just started laughing, and I bent down, and I pet him a little bit. And nature is always trying to teach us something, right? And so crabs are about moving in all directions, moving forward, moving backwards, moving side to side, and investigating the crabs as a totem. I discovered that spirit is bringing the message for me through that little crab was, opportunities and abundance and things that will be coming my way via my connection to my purpose and my power and my willingness to keep stepping forward and talking out in the world, opportunities coming from all directions, to help me out. So anytime we have these incidences with nature, these little things, big and little, sometimes they're quite startling, sometimes they're fun. Some creatures are more fun to connect with than others, right? But anytime we have these things happen, it's always the universe through nature trying to give us signs and symbols. So that was my 8-8 experience. And then I walked the labyrinth on the island, on the part of the island called Mahalaku also. And as I walked the labyrinth on this land against this epic seashore, I'm really able to tune into the spirals of time and the great kingdom of Atlantis and help with this energy acceleration that we are going through to course correct this planet into something greater, into the great kingdom of Atlantis, the new Atlantis and the new Earth. So if you're a way shower out there, if you're a light worker out there, if you are somebody who works with the earth and with the nature spirits, I think you can get a really good sense of what I'm talking about, that we all have our individual drives and passions, and we all have our individual callings on how we are to help. And when we really tune in and listen to our soul, when we trust spirit, when we trust nature, and we go forward and we put these ideas or these callings into actions, collectively, individually and collectively, we really do co-create something wonderful together. So these colors you see, these browns and these tans, are my honoring and my reverence to the sand people of the planet and their energy rising up through me to help enact part of my purpose. Now the Lion's Gate, I'm going to talk a little bit more about what the Lion's Gate is, what that portal is, what happened on that day, before, during, and after, and where it's taking us. And then after we take a break, I have a really special guest who's going to join me on the line. My very dear friend, Leanne Scarcella, is going to come on the line and talk about some of her past life experiences in Egypt. So in my work as a past life regression therapist, not only do I have a great opportunity to give people from all walks of life really epic experiences in tuning into their soul and tuning into their multidimensional selves for healing, I also have an opportunity to work with a lot of amazing healers and help other healers and teachers on their path. And this experience that I had with my dear friend Leanne was extremely potent and unique, and she was able to bring forward some information not only for her soul path and purpose and her lineage that helps us also collectively. After the break, I'm going to bring her back. We're going to go into that story. You're going to meet Leanne, and we're going to talk about all the amazing things she does out in the world as well. But to get you started thinking, I'll just let you know that, the 8-8 portal, the Lion's Gate, it's one of my favorite days of the year. I really feel the potency of this gateway stronger than most other gateways that Spirit offers. I feel very aligned with what happens during that 2 or 3 week period. The Lion's Gate portal actually officially opens on July 26th. which is the planetary New Year. It's the day at a time in the Mayan calendar. But even before that, there's a precursor to that on July 22nd that is associated with the feast day of Mary Magdalene. And we know that Mary Magdalene is the feminine Christ. She was the beloved of Jesus Christ. She held down the divine feminine Christed energy. So even on July 22nd, we get this influx of light starting to come in from that feminine, sacred feminine Christ energy. There's an acceleration on June 26th. And then a couple weeks later, we start to move into the 8-8 gateway, the Lion's Gateway. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that when we go to break here in a second. And then beyond that, we finish the Lion's Gate. Spirit has told me that we go 8 days past integrating, which puts us at about the 17th of this month. And the new moon, the next new moon. And so, I'm going to give you a lot to think about when we come back. By the way, you can find me, if you want a little bit more information about me, you can find me at ameerabeth.com. You can read a little bit more about past life regressions, soul progressions, all the things that I do out in the world as a healer and a teacher, my classes. And you can also visit my YouTube channel at ameerabeth.com or Ameera Mer Healer to catch yourself up on some of the past episodes on Tales from the Mer World Radio. So we're going to take a quick break. When I come back, I'm going to bring on via the phone, my dear friend, Leanne. We'll see you in a few minutes. Aloha, everybody. If you're just joining us, you are listening to Tales from the Mer World Radio with me, Ameera Beth, Mer Healer. This is a program where we explore the ancient lands of Atlantis and Lemuria. And today, our topic happens to be the ancient lands of Egypt and the association between Atlantis and Egypt and the Lion's Gate portal. So after the fall of Atlantis, or actually even before Atlantis fell, many of the high-ranking magi, many of the people who had been aware for a very long time, the leaders, the healers, many of them who knew the destruction was coming, realized that somebody had to bring forward the technology, the teachings, the writings, the consciousness, and move it someplace else on the planet so that it could go on and on. So before Atlantis fell, there were certain teachers and healers who were given the assignment, who volunteered or who chose to leave Atlantis before it fell. And they left in great ships, they left in boats, and they took as much information with them as they could across the waters and eventually settled in the land we call today as Egypt. Now they took that information, much of that information was not actually written. It was encoded in crystals. It was encoded in different sacred objects, and mostly it was encoded within them. The magi, the teachers, the healers, the scientists, those who went forward were actually downloaded via something called the golden egg. There was a golden egg in Atlantis, and one day I'm going to have to do a show that talks about that. That was a big information center. And when that golden egg that held the weaving of the consciousness, the threads, the patterns, the tapestry of the consciousness of reality and place, when that started to become compromised due to the change in vibration, the change in consciousness, and to the changes that were going on in the frequency of Atlantis, when that golden egg began to become compromised, that information had to be moved. It had to be transported. It had to be saved. And so that information went into a select few beings to move forward out into the planet as a preservation. And so these healers, these teachers, the magi, the priests and priestesses were downloaded, their crystals were downloaded, their DNA was downloaded, their cells were downloaded with these messages and these memories and this coding. And they took off and they went and settled into ancient Egypt. And Egypt, before the pyramids as we know today, there was an Egypt that was created before we think about the pharaohs and things like that. That's much more recent Egyptian history. The Atlantean Egyptian history happened hundreds of thousands of years before the modern day history of Egypt that we associate with. And the Sand People had a great deal to do with that. The Sand People were the ones who, that consciousness of the sand, who met them on the shores of Egypt, who met them on the shores of the Nile. And when we talk about the 8-8 portal, and really what the 8-8 gateway is the heliocentric rising of the star Sirius, the blue star Sirius. The blue star Sirius would rise, and during this time of the year, there's actually appears to be two suns. There's Sirius, and then there's our sun, and then there's the great central sun that brings down the information and aligns Sirius with the pyramids of Giza. So these things have been happening, of course, on the planet for eons of time, since the Earth was created. Very ancient information coming through into the sands of time, and record keeping in through the sands of time. And as I talked about a little bit before this, I have the great privilege to help other people to segue into remembering their own information. And one of those people, one of those folks, one of those beautiful beings, healers, who has been downloaded and encoded with just so much information, not only from Egypt, but from Lemuria, from Atlantis, through the sands of time, one of those beings who really carries with her the lineage of the sacred feminine, the divine feminine, through the Christ energy, the Christ and the Mary Magdalene energy is my very dear friend, Leanne Scarcella, and I'm going to bring her on in just a moment. We're going to have a really great conversation, and I'm going to ask her to share an experience we had together, me as the facilitator, and she as the one who got to, through in this time of space and reality, bring forth her memories, very special memories of how she participated in those rituals and those ceremonies of the ancient Christed times and before that we are still embodying and practicing and remembering in this life today. So, without further ado, I'm going to ask Olivia, my producer, to bring in my dear friend Leanne, and off we go.
Yeah, Leanne, you're on with Ameera. Beth, are you there?
I am here.
Hey, lady, how are you doing today?
I'm okay. How are you doing, friend?
I'm doing really good, and I just want to thank you for taking time out of your life. I know how busy your life is and how busy your family is and how busy your healing practice is, to come and join me because, you and I met, we met maybe 2 years ago or so. You found me somehow, some magical way. And we had that session together, and it's not often that I have a session with somebody and immediately I just want to be their friend. And I met you and I got to know you, and we shared mana, we shared energy through that session a couple of years ago. And I just really wanted to be your friend. Like, I just really wanted to know you. And you were gracious enough to allow me on a personal level into your life. And since then, we have shared many, many experiences, many conversations together. And not only did I get a great opportunity to help you out in that moment, but, you have returned the favor to me a 1,000-fold through your friendship, your sisterhood, your wisdom, and, sessions that we've had back and forth. So I just want to really acknowledge you, how special you are to me, how much I love you and appreciate you, and what an amazing gift you are to this planet. So take that.
I feel so blessed to have had you want to be my friend and want to pull me into your life. I was equally excited to connect with you and honored that you wanted to spend time with me. So thank you.
Yeah, well, you kind of didn't have a choice. I made you be my friend.
I don't think I experienced it that way, but okay.
And so as you and I have traveled over this past couple of years together, and been so interconnected and found out more about how our souls are interlinked, how we are interlinked in the cosmos, and why we came back to be friends together in this time and space. Me out here, deep West Coast in Kauai, and you holding down, Massachusetts, holding down the East Coast, even though we've never met in person. I mean, it's like, I feel like I know you so beautifully and so intimately. And, these conversations that we continue to have, that we build upon, and we learn more and we express more. One of the coolest things, one of the best sessions that I have ever had was actually that lifetime where you remembered traveling across the sands, in a caravan with these women, and what eventually brought you to the land we call Egypt. And I don't even know if it was called Egypt back then. I wondered if you would talk to our audience about that remembrance, and just kind of start at the beginning of, and you can channel, because you're a wonderful channel, and go through your channeling experience and go through your literal remembrance experience. And please share with us how you are so intricately connected to Mary Magdalene, to the lineage of Christ, and to the sacred feminine. I'm just going to let you kind of take the floor and start wherever you want to start.
Oh, well, honestly, I was such a surprise as anyone to experience the beautiful hypnosis that you were able to provide for me. I remember feeling in the process of going in that I'm not going under. I'm not going into trance. Nothing's happening. And then the next thing I know, I can't move my hands.
Yeah,
I can't connect with my physical body. And I look down at my feet, and it is just sand. We were in a caravan, and I was with a group of women. I was about 14, and we were traveling from the area that I believe was Mount Carmel, just like in the Jerusalem area, and we were traveling across to Egypt, and we were in a caravan in a sandstorm. And I remember how vivid the sandstorm experience was, because I could taste the sand, and it scared me. But
I'm going to pause you for just 1 second, and how interesting you're bringing up a sandstorm. I'd forgotten that part of it on the same day that I'm talking about the sand people.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so continue. Just
Exactly.
Really cool coincidence.
No, I felt it when you were talking about sand people. I need to bring up the sandstorm that we experienced, and how how intense it was, and how we had to use the caravans as cover, and cover our faces with the veils that we were wearing. And I remember the burlap feeling of what I thought was linen, but it felt almost like a bag, like a woven bag for clothing. And everything about it was very, very surreal, but also very vivid and very real. And you asked me what my name was, and it was really difficult for me to answer. So you said, "What is your mother's name?" And it was instant. I knew it was Miriam.
Miriam, yeah,
and as
right.
we were walking through with these women, I started to realize there were, I think, 21 women that were meeting together, and we were venturing or having a pilgrimage to a temple that I'm not sure if it was Karnak, but it was similar. And we were at this temple, and in the temple, I was brought down as a 14-year-old girl into an area that went down into the ground. And there were no steps, so we were lowered into the ground. And some of the other women had instruments, and they were made of crystal. And the experience that I had was being lowered into a sarcophagus. And I knew it was some type of ritual that was given by Osiris. And it was almost as though I was being brought to my death, but I knew I wasn't there to die. And as I went into this sarcophagus, and the cover was not completely placed over, but almost. And I had to go into this darkness. And what I realized was that that I was going into a state of full remembrance. I had to face death to go into the state of full remembrance of myself and all my lifetime. And I found myself inside a temple full of water. And in the water, it wasn't what I knew to be water. And I started to realize I was no longer on Earth. I was no longer in Egypt. And I was connected to the Syrian temple. And the Syrian temple and the temple in Egypt were connected. And information was being downloaded into the consciousness in the Syrian experience so that it could be brought and downloaded into the physical body.
Right. And I remember in those moments, you know, you were quite afraid.
Yes.
You know, in our conversation, you were very unsure that you wanted to remember this particular incident.
Yes.
And I remember just gently talking you into realizing it was a memory and that nothing could hurt you.
Yes.
And that it would be good and helpful to you in this lifetime to bring forward the significance of why you were going through this ritual. And you did it. So continue on.
Yes, it was, that's all true. I was terrified. I wanted to, I think, fight my way back into consciousness.
Right.
And I wasn't sure I wanted to remember all that I was because of what that, I think I was afraid of the responsibility that I felt for holding that.
Right. For a 14-year-old girl, that would be pretty immense. For a grown woman, that would be immense.
I also knew, yes, yeah. And I also knew so there was a dual experience between my current consciousness as Leanne and this young woman who I knew was her grandmother and her mother had held the position of like a high priestess.
Mm-hmm.
And it was her turn to take that experience by remembering all that she was and all that we all are for this group of 22 women, so including herself. So, and I later found out through you that there is a significance to 22 and the Essenes, and it was and the connection to the Essenes was very strong in that hypnosis. I knew that that's the group that was on the pilgrimage, that they were not Egyptian.
Right.
And as I continued to experience being in the water that was not necessarily water, it began to fill up with light codes. And I could feel light codes pulsing through my body. I could feel as though I could see them almost swimming up into my physicality and through my body. And as I saw this, I went through a process of wondering if this was the point of no return.
Right.
If
I remember
stopped
that.
it now, would I be able to stop and go back home and just be a 14-year-old girl and have a normal life and marry someone? But I knew I had to soldier on and go through it. And I think that at some point, too, I felt the true honor of it. No longer the fear of it, but the honor of what I was able to be allowed to experience with all of these beautiful women around me, holding space.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt as though there was a possibility that I was about to die, that I wouldn't make it through this, but that was an absolute possibility of this ritual. And I remember the moment that I realized that that was the ritual, to allow and surrender to that moment.
Right.
Fully and completely knowing that there was the possibility of death, and fully allowing that possibility to take over.
And just falling into the trust in the arms of God.
And that's when the magic happened. That's when the surge of energy of all of myself, all of my lifetimes. I could see lifetimes in Atlantis, Lemuria. I could see lifetimes in the future. So in that moment of seeing those future lifetimes, I released the fear of death. As again, it felt as though I was just in, this is a moment. This is not finality. And I released the sensation that anything possibly wrong could occur.
Mm. Beautiful.
And the energy of it was tremendous. And I remember sitting in that sort of suit of connection for a little while with you.
Yeah, and I remember being very emotional, listening to your words and listening to how you were expressing your experience, this amazing experience, and you really just trusted yourself and you trusted the messages, and you went into this full embodiment and acceptance to not only your identity in that lifetime, but how you were to be here and move that identity and move those remembrances out in the world in your work today as Leanne. You just were brilliant about it.
What I realized, as well as being that beautiful young woman who is connected to the Magdalene energies and the child in that lineage, was that the starseeds that have come, all of us that are connected to this, we all hold pieces of it, of this young woman. It wasn't that I felt that I went from one lifetime to a new lifetime of myself from myself, but I could feel almost the moments and the connections interwoven that all of us hold, that we all hold the candle of this flame. And when I felt
that's a lovely way to put it.
Connection to, the connection to that candle flame allowed me to not take it on as though it was my mantle alone that I must shoulder. And again, I could feel the cohesiveness and the oneness in the ceremony with all these 22 other women, and then the greater connection to all the starseeds in the future.
And if our listeners haven't figured it out by now, Your identity in that lifetime, your name in that lifetime was Sarah, who is, of course, the beloved daughter, the Holy Grail of Jesus and Mary Magdalene, Miriam, your mother. And you holding, and we all have these immense oversouls, and we all have an oversoul we're connected to, and many of us are connected to these really great and mighty forces and beings who have done great things on the planet, or are alive now through us, and enabling us to do great things on the planet. And what you said is very true, that many of us are the flame holders or candle holders of an aspect of a being, of an identity. And I just really have to tell you, Leanne, some are stronger flame holders than others. You are a very, like, the fires of the Holy Spirit and that persona, the actualization and the authenticity of that persona through you as Sarah, as one who is here to bring forward not only the sacred feminine, but the Christ codes, period. Like, that is really deeply alive in you, and it manifests in the way that you help your clients, and it manifests in the connection that you have to God and the connection you have to people. And I've seen it manifest in the way you help me through my things, through all of my situations when we spent time together in really significant ways. So what I really want people to know is that, you are a beautiful being who acts in so much humility, and at the same time, I want to give you that acknowledgement of how beautifully and authentically you hold that line of the Christ energy as Sarah, as embodying the essence of Sarah. And when that opened up for you in that session, when you fully realized that, and we spoke about it afterwards and a few times to continue to anchor that in, like that lineage that you carry is a great blessing to the world. And anybody who comes forward to work with you and to be in your presence will automatically feel your heart and feel how true you are. So, people want to work with you. Not only, I can't even call you a psychic medium. You're so beyond that in your ability to connect with multi-dimensions and spirit, and to ebb and flow all these energies. You're beyond even being what I would call an oracle. You really are in the oneness, immersed in the oneness and in the 0 point of all that is. So if a person wants to come to you for a session or for healing, what's the best way for them to contact you?
Ameera, you brought tears to my eyes. Thank you. I honestly want to say that I am genuinely honored, and I feel blessed to be in the presence of anyone who wishes to express themselves and evolve. And I really treasure the moments that you and I have had the experience of being able to help each other evolve.
Yes.
So, my middle name is Aaliyah, and I go by Leanna Aaliyah. It's leannaaliyah.com. I am still very slow to architect a public expression of myself, because I do find that most people just sort of find me through word of mouth, and I got used to that. I selfishly got very used to having people find me through word of mouth. So I haven't really advertised or put a strong presence out into the media world, but I will be creating more of a presence on leannaaliyah.com as well as Center of Presence.
Excellent. And after I post this video, if you're listening now, when I post the video up tomorrow, I'll make sure and put Leanne's contact information so that you can go forward and work with her. If you do so feel called, I would highly recommend it. This is a woman who has access to the realms of light and love and the Christed energies that, are really unlike anything I've ever experienced before. So that is my appreciation, my shout out and appreciation to you, Leanne, for your friendship, for your gifts, for being brave enough to talk about, this experience in a regression where you have these memories that you have really owned and honored to help all of us on the planet. Is there anything else you want to add before I let you go on with your day?
Well, thank you so much, Ameera, for letting me share. I would like to say that just in regard to the Lionsgate, I did want to mention that in the hypnosis as well, that they made it really clear. I felt it was really clear that the Syrian alignment with the pyramid is what they shared with me was be aware of or really go into what the Sphinx guards, and really flow into the energy of what the Sphinx guards. And when I flowed into that, it was all the information that you've talked about in the beginning from Atlantis that was held still in that area and in that land. And beyond Atlantis, it was like it was every bit of the information that we hold as a collective, and the Sphinx and the Sirius and the connection of the work that I was doing in the hypnosis or that she was doing, I should say, in the work in the tomb or in the sarcophagus was moving through portals.
Yes.
And I believe that what they were showing me was that portal awareness and guarding that portal. And I just wanted to present that as well for what you were talking about in the beginning with all that you bring forward from your experience of Atlantis,
right,
as well as the Lion.
Excellent. Thank you.
I still connect with it.
I know.
Thank you.
I know. Always plugged in. Always connected.
You. Really.
Well, it's evening time for you over there, sister. You have a wonderful evening. Thank you again for taking time in your life to come support me, to come support my show. And, I'll make sure that you get a good shout out in the video comments for anybody who wants to come in and connect with you and do their own inner healing work. You've taken my past life regression course also, so people can come to you for past life regression, but really you're so even beyond those modalities, beyond and what you're able to do to help people to heal and help them bring them back to their very core, most magnificent self and move them forward is quite remarkable. So thank you for being here with us.
Thank you. Thank you for all that you've done for me. Thank you so much.
Aloha.
Aloha. Beautiful being that you are. Thank you. Everything you bring to the table.
So we have only a few more minutes on the show left. And I think that I will just kind of wrap up by completing my narrative, I guess, on the 8-8 energies, on the Egyptian energies and the Christed energies that we are now receiving. And I want to remind you of a movie called The Chronicles of Narnia. And if you remember in The Chronicles of Narnia, there was a lion, right? Aslan was the lion that worked with the children. And this is important because the Lionsgate obviously is in the sign of Leo. The Leo energy, the lion energy is the most significant energy that we have going on right now. And Aslan in the movie in the Chronicles of Narnia was it was significant, or it was really about Aslan was a representation of the Christ energy. Aslan was written as a host or an archetype of the Christ energy. So when we talk about, Christ being the shepherd of the children and all the things going on in the world with the children right now, all the things we're uncovering, discovering, and Aslan being an archetype of the Christ energy, and this being the Christ energy coming down through the Lion's Gate, through the constellation of Leo, and being set off with the feminine Christ energy, which is Mary Magdalene, the energy of the feminine Christ. We really start to put together this beautiful picture, this beautiful archetypal mythology come to life depiction of what's happening in our world right now through all these energies coming together. So the integration period, the culmination was on 8/8. The integration period is going on just a few days more, up to about the 17th. Spirit tells me we're going to continue to integrate these energies, and beyond. So during this past 2 or 3 weeks, you might have really discovered or felt some things awakening in you. These light codes that have come down and awakened us and shown a light on many of the things happening in the world. All these things coming from the galactic center are really here to help and support us. They're here to awaken us. They're here to change our DNA. And they're here to awaken the Christ codes and the Christ light that is within every single one of us. There's nobody on this planet exempt from receiving right now. If you know these things are going on, it can be very helpful because it can explain to why maybe we're very tired. Or, during the last couple of weeks, I went through a lot of integration period where I just wanted to sleep a lot. I wanted to rest a lot. I would just have to take a lot of breaks during the day and go and lay down for a little while and put my work aside and just realize it's part of me surrendering into the flow and into the integration of all these things that are trying to happen to elevate us all and to purge and clear out all the distortions and, bring in these cosmic memories and these cosmic alignments from Sirius and the galactic center and from these Egyptian memories and from our ancient lineages. So some of you may have had the same kind of experiences where you felt maybe very worn out, maybe you felt a little emotional, maybe you felt very energetic and ramped up because, not only were the cosmic energies, the galactic energies very strong, but there was also a lot of planetary movement and events coming forward and bringing into the light that were bringing up a lot of emotions and a lot of things in all of us. So as we move out of the portal, we move out of the gateway into what's next, and there's always something next. And really the next alignment is going to be the 9/9 gateway as we move into Virgo and go into 9/9, and 9s are always about completion. Cycles, the cycles of life, we're finishing one, completing one cycle, getting ready to go into another cycle, and there are cycles within cycles. So if you think at some point, the energy is going to receive and it won't be as intense as it is now, I'm here to tell you, the energy is going to be intense forever and ever and ever. But that's all good because actually we as humans, we really do thrive on challenges. We really come here to go into challenging situations, to look at these situations and to be in them and find out how we can transcend, see what we can do within them, see what we're capable of. We all signed up to be on this great Earth journey right now, this planetary ascension, this new Atlantis. We all signed up to do this together. And so there are people like me in the world and like Leanne in the world who are here to support you. If you are looking for some kind of a healing session, a past life regression, 13 chakra healing, intuitive reading, you can find me at ameerabeth.com. That's my website. You can go in and plan some time with me. I also have a mentoring program called Soul Purpose Activation. It's a series of 4 sessions where I can bring you greater into purpose. I have a cool sacred geometry clothing site called Wisdom Wear. Put crystals in the clothes, Andara crystals. And for those of you who are familiar with Andaras or maybe were on my last show, I have these really cool rings and jewelries also that I sell. I'll have a whole bunch of those next week. Lots and lots of beautiful Andara pendants and rings, along with the clothing. And I really just want to thank you all for continuing to tune on and pass my videos on. It's my great pleasure and passion to bring forward the theology, mythology, the ancient history of lands, the great kingdom of Atlantis, Lemuria, and so on and so forth. And on that note, I will thank you for allowing me to express myself. I'll see you again on August 27th, and sending you oceans of aloha from Kauai.